Hi, this is Robert Michael Paisley, and this is GRC 605, and we're going to look at visualizing hypothesis testing here in this PowerPoint presentation. Our agenda for this presentation is here in the first slide. We're going to look at the visualization and determine the null hypothesis and alternative hypothesis of that visualization. Then in slide 2, we're going to look at two means in determining the hypothesis of that visualization also. In slide 3, we're going to look at the efficiency comparison and give a null hypothesis and an alternative hypothesis of that visualization. And finally, in the last visualization, we're going to look at correlation testing. And again, we will determine the hypothesis of that and see if we need to reject or take it from the null hypothesis. Visualization number 1 is we're going to look at the question here is on average, are the widgets from the Acme widget company defect free? So here we have a bell curve, as we can see, and the mean is the center point of the highest part of that bell curve, and we have 0 as our mean for that. So I've came up with a null hypothesis, which is on average all of the widgets from Acme widget company are defect free, or mean is equal to 0. The alternative hypothesis would be on average the widgets from the Acme company will have a defect, which would mean the mean is not equal to 0. Here, since the mean is equal to 0, we are not going to reject the null hypothesis. We will say, on average, that all the widgets from the Acme company are defect-free. Here in this visualization, we're going to compare two groups. So as we see again, the two groups here, we have a red team and a blue team. And we're looking at the number of home runs that they hit and which fraction of the team are home run hitters. So our research question is, does the average major league team have more home run hitters than its corresponding minor league team? So again, we're going to look at what the mean is of the minor leagues, and if we look at that mean, and then it's roughly 0.28, and the blue team has a mean of 0.36. So we will look at the null hypothesis. I have it here in equation and word mode. So we're going to look at the mean of the league. Is it equal to the mean of the minors? So is our major league team has equal number as the minor league team? Or in our alternative hypothesis, is the mean of the league not equal to the mean of the minors, which means does the major league team has more homers than the minor league team? So here I looked at the red mean and the blue mean, and I would reject the null hypothesis and go with the alternative because the blue team does have more home run hitters than the minor league team. So here we have visualization number 3, which is efficiency comparison. Where again we're going to look at two different teams here, or efficiency curves of the red team and the blue team, and how many number served per hour, and then how many hours that they were watched. So we look at our question. The efficiency curves of the red and blue teams were recorded that the teams have equal mean efficiencies. So in my null hypothesis, is the mean of the red team equal to the mean of the blue team, and teams equal number of served per hour. And our alternative is the mean of the red team not equal to the mean of the blue team, and the teams are not equal to number of served per hour. So to begin with, the mean of the red team, which is our center point of the red bell curve, which is roughly I guess about 32, and the center of the blue bell curve, which is roughly 50. So here I would reject the null hypothesis and choose the alternative because the blue team is more than the red team. They are not equal. Here on this slide, we look at the correlational testing of a study that went on, and then some Germans tested how their bigger vans utilized gasoline. So what they wanted to look at is the weight versus the miles per gallon. Does it correlate with each other? So the first question is, what were the study's null and alternative hypothesis? So what I looked at is, are lighter the van, does it get better miles per gallon, or does lighter the van get worse miles per gallon? So if we look here, I would go with the null hypothesis. I would not reject it, because as you can see in the scatter plot with the bottom area there, the lighter the van allowed for more miles per gallon, so the hypothesis would be null in this case. So here an important takeaways would be creating a hypothesis test. Visualizations can help you determine the hypothesis tests that are needed. And during those visualizations, the data allows you to determine the test, because it shows the mean if it is a bell-shaped curve. And in that mean, it allows you to make a hypothesis and compare it to the opposite, which would be the alternative. And using visualizations, the curve can give you a small inclination to what the data shows, and allow you to make a hypothesis from that data. So as you look at that curve and find that mean, you can determine if it is a null hypothesis or a alternative hypothesis, depending on what the equation and the question is. And then lastly, equations are another way besides words to show what the hypothesis may be. So when you're making those hypotheses, you can either use some equations with numbers, or you can actually write out the words to determine of what it is. I would like to say thank you for everybody watching this video, and thanks for tuning in and listening to my presentation, and I'd open the discussion to any questions that anybody may have, and if not, well, I'd like to conclude this presentation. Thank you.